So today I want to tell you the story about how David Hasselhoff and Pamela Anderson changed my life forever. And no, this is not a clickbait statement. And if you listen to the story at the end, I'll explain exactly how Baywatch can affect your life as well. Okay, so let me set the stage. It's April 23rd, 1989. I was going to the University of Guelph. I was studying for wildlife biology, and I just finished my microbiology exam, okay? And the microbiology exam is what's known as a bell ringer exam, meaning you go from microscope to microscope to microscope, looking at little red dots on these slides, right? And you have to explain what larval state that insect's life is in. There's nothing I could care about less, right? And at the end of the exam, I'm like, what am I doing, man? Like, I don't care about any of this stuff. Why am I studying this? I don't know what's going on, right? And so I went home and found out that my housemates were having a big party that night. I was like, oh man, I can't deal with this. So I decided to go back to my parents' house. They were away for the week or the weekend or whatever. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go home, be alone, and just, be with my thoughts. So that night I cooked a big bowl of popcorn, went downstairs, got the remote, started flicking around the channels, watching TV, and this brand new pilot episode of a TV show called Baywatch was on. I'm like, oh, let's watch this. And I'm watching the show and I was like, you know what? Lifeguarding. I was a lifeguard. I was like, I love being a lifeguard. That's what I should do. I should be a lifeguard. I was like, wait a minute, I live in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Like, we don't have any oceanfront beaches. Adults aren't really lifeguards. So that's not gonna work. But what's like being a lifeguard, right? I was like, ambulance. Like, people who work on an ambulance, that's kind of like being a lifeguard. I was like, I wonder what's involved with that. I'd never thought of working on the ambulance before now, right? So the next day, Saturday, I went to the Hamilton Public Library. This is pre-internet, right? And I go to the career section and I find out that you need to go to college for a year and get your ambulance and emergency care certificate, and then you can work on an ambulance in Ontario. So like, okay. So I got the list of all the colleges, and on Monday I started calling them, and I called Niagara College, and they're like, you know what? To get into the program, you had to submit an application a couple months ago, and then actually tomorrow is our last day of interviews. And she's like, you know what? Why don't you just come out tomorrow? You can fill out the application then, and we can interview you at the same time. It's like, sweet. So I got in the car the next day, went to Niagara College, and keep in mind that I just finished 2 years of university level biology, and I was racing triathlons at the time, right? And so one of the tests was a multiple choice biology test that I swear a grade H to be able to pass. And so I got 100% on that test. And then another test, we were supposed to run a mile, right? I was used to doing a triathlon. So I was literally like running backwards, looking for everybody to see like if I was on the right course or not. And then the last thing of the day is we had to interview with the staff, and the staff's like, you know what, Mike, like, you're in. Like, we don't usually tell you, we usually send you a letter, but you're in. There's just no doubt about it. So if you want to come to school here next year, you can. I was like, yeah. So anyway, that was it. I decided to quit university and become an ambulance attendant. And so that one thing, that one decision to go home, to go to my parents, to watch a TV show, completely and unequivocally changed my life. Had I not watched Baywatch that night, I probably never would have become an ambulance attendant, never would have gone to Denver, got my paramedic training, never would have been a firefighter, never would have worked on the helicopter. None of that stuff would have happened. And again, it was all because of that one, seemingly inconsequential choice of going home and watching TV. And so if you're a Generation Xer like me, you probably have heard of the Talking Heads, right? And what about the song, I think it's Letting the Days Go By or something. It goes like this. You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. You may find yourself in another part of the world. You may find yourself with a beautiful house and a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, how did I get here? And I think that's what we need to do. We need to ask ourselves, how do we get here? And I think for most of us, things just happened. And we just made choices. And sometimes all of our choices weren't conscious, right? Like, I know a lot of people, when they go out to get a job, they just go out to get a job. They just apply for anything they can find initially, because what do you need? You need money, right? And so if you need money, you'll just take whatever you can get. And for a lot of us, that job is just temporary until you find something better. But for most of us, we start that job and then we get promoted, and then we start making more money, and then we get a 401k and blah, blah, blah. All that stuff happens. And then, 10, 15, 20 years later, you're still in that same field, right? And that wasn't your plan from the beginning, but it's just what happened. So what I recommend is you ask somebody for some advice if where you are is where you should be. And that person you should ask is your 18-year-old self, okay? Ask your 18-year-old self if he or she would approve of where you are right now. Now, for me personally, I live on 164 acres, got a big house, and I do a lot of stuff outdoors. That's where I am right now, right? And so my first job out of high school was I was a canoe guide up in Temagami. And now over there, I've got a trailer with 5 or 6 canoes on it indoors. I've got a kayak from the 1980 Olympics. I've got a refurbished 1974 chestnut paddle canoe, the same paddle my canoeing hero Bill Mason used to paddle. So I think my 18-year-old self would say, yeah, Mike, you know, you did it. That's exactly where you should be. You're doing exactly what I'd hoped that you would do, you know, when you got older. Now, if your 18-year-old self doesn't approve of where you are right now, that's okay, because again, you did what you had to do to get to where you are right now, and there's nothing wrong with where you are right now, but maybe you could do something different. Maybe you could do something better. Maybe you could do something that would make your 18-year-old self proud, right? And so what is that thing? I know for most of us, it's starting our own business. That's what's allowed me to have everything that I have, is being self-employed, being an entrepreneur. Now, I know 1 in 3 Gen Xers, we want to start our own business, but most of us don't, right? And why? There's 3 reasons. 1 is because we don't know what to do. 2nd, we think we know what to do, and there's just so much, we get overwhelmed. And 3rd, you know, we know that over 80% of businesses fail, and we don't want to, you know, start something that's ultimately doomed to fail. So there's those 3, you know, solid reasons why, you know, we haven't gone through with our dream of being self-employed. So I might be able to help you with that. There's so many ways that I can do that. One of the things you can do is just follow me on my Facebook page, right? Follow my YouTube channel. Reach out to me, contact me, see what I can do to help, right? I've got a couple of free downloads. I'll put a link to one of them on this in the comments, okay? But the thing is you need to start taking some action. Again, ask your 18-year-old self, what would he or she say about where I am right now? And if you're not living, you know, your 18-year-old self's expectations, it's not too late to start, right? So let me know if I can help you do that, and I'd love to help you along with your journey. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed my Pamela Anderson, David Hasselhoff story. It's a 100% true story. And anyway, leave in the comments, you know, where you are right now and how you got there. I'd love to hear your stories. All right, guys, talk to you later. Bye-bye.